WMOM Facebook page, but also our Hot Country Hits Facebook page, our YouTube channel. You can listen to it on your smart devices like your Amazon Alexa, your Google Home, and of course, you can just push the play button at hotcountryhits.com or WMOM.FM. And finally, over your radio on 99.9 and 102.7. Chris here with you, and also in the studio with us this morning, it is Mitch Foster. Mitch, how you doing? Oh, there's Janelle. Mitch Foster, how you doing?
I could also look like Janelle. I'm sure people would prefer looking at her.
No, that's all right.
I'm good, Chris. How are you this morning?
Good. We appreciate you coming in. And the mayor of Ludington, Mark Barnett. How you doing, sir? Thanks for coming in.
Good morning. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mitch, you didn't bring coffee for me. What's up? No, I don't drink
Well,
coffee.
because I also came in here and you had Taco Bell. So
Yes.
it seems
Right.
like an even trade.
Exactly.
Thanks to the listener for the DoorDash and Taco Bell. You've had Taco Bell before.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
What?
breakfast.
What kind of question is that?
Breakfast.
Okay, I was like, what kind of question is that?
I've never had Taco Bell breakfast, but I have today. So let's talk about some topics that are on. Now, is this a special council meeting? Because weren't you guys in like last week or not?
Yes, we were.
Okay.
No, we have. So in December, because of the holidays, we do the first and third instead of the second and fourth Mondays.
Okay.
So that's why we are up this week, just because we don't want to have everything conflict with the holidays.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're back at it tonight at 6 p.m.
No, it's all right. Glad to have you in and talking about it. Let's talk about senior center. So we have kind of and I use the word dinky, but it is a smaller sized senior center. And my first question to you on this is probably before my time, was that senior center planned as a senior center, or was it something else prior to it being a senior center? Mr. Mayor, do you know this?
Boy, I wish I did.
Okay.
It's been the 23 years we've been here. It's been a senior center, so
All right.
I don't know what it was before that.
Mitch, you have any idea?
And you're looking even younger,
Okay.
in shorter period of time with me over here. They have made a couple of additions onto that building in the past. You can kind of see where they are inside the structure. But you're absolutely right. It's quite small, especially for the type of programming and services they do offer. I think the hope is long-term they can find a new space, but that also has to go and kind of be considered as part of the county and how they provide senior services across the county, not just within Ludington, of course.
Oh, so the senior center is a county-based sort of?
Well, kind of, because that's where the majority of their funding comes from, is the county.
Okay.
So the county has a senior services person, Miss Evans, that is kind of part-time but helping facilitate those. But the vast majority of the funding comes from the county.
Okay.
The city just happens to be the fiduciary. We run the books, and they are employees of us.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, and it's a very active senior center, but I think when you talk to anybody out there, they just say, "Hey, it's too small." But my question, I guess, for the two of you is: have you talked to actual seniors or your staff members, and do they feel the same way, or is it just perception, Mitch?
I think that some of them do feel like it is the reality that it is a little bit small. We've been having conversations since I started here, at least, about a new space. And so they've been trying to look at different surveys of the facility to see what's beneficial, what they need to expand upon. But we'll see kind of as they move forward.
And the topic that brings us to this is that you're going to be laying down some carpeting there, so their improvements are happening, which is a plus. And what other things are we looking at this year, or even from the past here?
Yeah, I mean, for the senior center, they had to replace one HVAC unit this year. They've got to replace another one next year just because of the age of the facility. They're doing the carpet squares throughout the entire structure so that they can replace those easier. But these are all kind of what I would refer to as maintenance, age of building type items. The hope is that long run they can, like we talked about, look to a new facility or combine with another type of organization that will fit what they're looking to do into the future. But we'll see how that conversation goes.
And I feel like with like carpet and everything, it would lower heating costs and stuff like that. Is that kind of the point of that?
A little bit the point of it, a little bit I think there are photos in the packet tonight, so if you take a look at those, it's pretty impressive how bad the carpet is wearing at the seams.
Okay.
And with these carpet squares, I mean, just like when you've got any other kind of laid down material, if you have a spill, you can just replace that single carpet square.
Right.
So it's really also just trying to be economical with taxpayer dollars for investments like that.
All right. We're talking with Mitch Foster, city manager, and Mark Barnett, the mayor of Ludington, this morning. Not completely off topic. It was related to the senior center, but who cooks and bakes and all that stuff, the food for the senior center? Do you know?
We're on just a food segment today.
No. I'm really curious about this because I was there last year and or this past year for like they had the fashion show that Moda put on in my sister's closet, and I'm looking at the tables of food and cookies and everything else in that place. And somehow nothing looked store bought there. Do they have their own baker's cafeteria? What's it?
They have a kitchen in there.
Okay.
And so they do try to bake some things and cook some things when they've got certain meals or events. But if it's anything large scale or kind of senior area wide, Mason County's Central's Food Service provides the Meals on Wheels program.
Okay.
And they also provide a lot of the meals for larger scale events that will go on in the senior centers.
Oh, okay. All right. Because it was, I was going to ask the seniors, hey, could I sit down and
See,
eat?
he
But
eats at the hospital too.
I do eat at
Like
the
you're
hospital.
gonna see Chris in line at the senior center for
No, I won't
lunch.
do that. The hospital has really good food. Okay, let's just clarify that. And I was invited to eat at the hospital. All right. It is 8:37 now. And talking with Mitch Foster, Mark Barnett this morning. Let's talk about we got a pretty good running group here in the Ludington area. The Run Ludington. They have their four races, right? Four running events that they put on in the area. Mark, you want to take this one and tell us a little bit about the approval tonight? What happens there?
Well, it'll be under my portion of the agenda down towards the end of the meeting. They're asking for an approval of a slate of 2024 runs. One will be January 1st, the New Year Day, March 16th, May 18th, and then October 26th. So they're asking, a gentleman has written a document, a proposal, asking for permission to do that, and pending council approval, they can put that on the calendar.
All right. My only concern there is with some of the events, they do cross Ludington Avenue, and there was at least once that I had to almost like put on the brakes or slam on the brakes because runners will come across the roads. Is there any chance that we can get some help with some of those major roads? Is that something that is part of that, or does that? What's the challenge there, I guess?
Yeah, so Chief Jones will typically review all of these applications as well to make sure that from his perspective there's a safety aspect considered. And so even with tonight's approval, Chief Jones will still make sure that those kind of logistical items are taken care of and laid out pretty clearly.
Okay, all right. And it was just like, oh man, because there's a strong running population here in the Ludington area, which is fantastic. But I want to make sure that everybody is safe because we don't have bike lanes. I know that's a sore spot because that probably, I don't think that's ever going to happen. There's not enough road or space for bike lanes here, and so the runners are and so the runners are not on the roads but on the sidewalks and such. But there's a lot of trails. There's a lot of opportunity for people to run here. Bike lanes, though, in regards to that, has that ever come up recent, or has it come back up recently at all? Is it just not? It's just not going to happen, right?
Well, I think that depends on who you're talking to, and I think the vast majority of people that live here would love to see some additional multimodal transportation options, at least lanes. But again, we're kind of pigeonholed with MDOT having our two main drags under their control, with Ludington Avenue. Well, even Lakeshore and James Street. So those three are all under their control. And so we have to work within their kind of rules. And so, we'll see what we can do kind of moving forward, but it's definitely been part of a conversation.
All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Mitch Foster, city manager of Ludington, Mark Barnett, mayor of Ludington this morning. Let's talk about LMTA. You've got an appointee there, Rose Baker, is part of the LMTA. That has improved over the last year. In regards to being able to have people dropped off in the Meyer area, right? Because there was a gap there. Where was the gap that they weren't dropping people off And then the county decided, hey, we can do that. What was that gap? Do you know, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I know Amber Township has been an area. The stores in Amber Township along 10. I mean, if you think of a barbell, and that's really kind of roughly connotates or illustrates the service area. So you got the city of Ludington, Pierre Marquette Township, then you got Scottville, and then you get the corridor 10 corridor going across. There are talking to Paul Keeson from LMTA, director out there. They've done some things relative to there's some health money, senior money, and different things. Some local contract money that allows the service area to go back and forth and across 10. I think that he's doing a good job there. I do know that we've had some discussions with the board and that type of thing, that they'd really look for a way to really expand services. And of course, when you say expand, and expand to where, and that's still being talked about, still being looked at it. I know probably 15, oh goodness, Mitch, was it 15, 16 years ago? I think that the two county millage attempt was made, Oceana and Mason County, and then that didn't work out, so they went for countywide, and that didn't happen. But things have changed. People have gotten older. The ridership, if you talk to Paul Keeson, would indicate that the ridership is up. We in Mason County, our ridership is significant as compared to other transportation companies in the counties to the north and to the south. So there's a need there, I believe, and I think it's important to at least consider how we might be able to meet needs, certainly in the out county, and to be able to bring those folks into Scottville, into Ludington, and around the county. So I think that's something we're going to look at. That's something we have been talking about, and so hopefully some of these appointments will bring in some different thoughts and that kind of thing on the topic.
Is there a gap right now that is on the top of people's concern? I understand, like, we want to serve every area, sure. But is there an area right now that is an issue at all?
Yeah, yes. I think the vast majority of people, the biggest concern is the US 10 corridor.
Okay. Which it serves a little bit, right?
Correct, a little bit. And there are pilot programs ongoing, as the mayor talked about. But that is the biggest concern, is trying to really the Amber Township stretch, because they are not a participating community, either via millage or via contract. That's the difficulty here. I think, as the mayor pointed out, you have the couple of pilot programs, Rise to Wellness, and then the Senior Rides program. They've really indicated that there's a pretty good need for it on the eastern side of the county, and that Hamlin Township is a big user of these programs as well, based on these aging populations and folks needing to get to services and to grocery stores and those sorts of things. And so I hope, frankly, that we are able to have, and the mayor is appointing folks to the LMTA board that are willing to have these conversations with the non-participating communities to see, hey, what's next? And frankly, be able to ask countywide, is this a priority? And if it is, then the funding model has to change, because right now it just can't be borne by Scottville, Ludington, PM, and these grants, because it's just not enough money to afford doing these larger programs.
Without putting any tension between Ludington and Amber Township, why isn't Amber Township participating in this? And I'm sorry to ask this of you guys, and we can bring them in. We can ask them. Maybe they'll come in and chat about this. But Amber Township is a major part of this thoroughfare, right? Of this between Ludington and Scottville. And why? What is their reasoning? They have enough residents. They have enough businesses. There should be enough finance to support this. But why isn't it happening?
I think. And the mayor can speak to it as well, but in talking with Jim Galley, who's the current supervisor there, he's retiring at the end of the year, but it's been his and the board's contention for a number of years that when they speak with their residents, they aren't interested. I don't know the millage results or the vote results back when it was either a single or a double county millage vote. But, I know that they've been in talks to try to figure out, can we do just the corridor instead of the entire township? They're trying to look at other solutions, but for the longest time, it was my understanding that it was based on, the public feedback.
And so I guess, and it's something that we can look at in the future, but when you have people on LMTA, they are traveling to those businesses, they're shopping at those businesses, they're eating at the restaurants, they're employed by the businesses and community. I would assume that you have that there is positives more than negatives. But Mr. Mayor, be the devil's advocate if you could. Why wouldn't a community want this?
Well, I think it's anything else that costs money, right? I mean, nobody's looking for ways to pay more. But I think what we, this community, this county really has just kind of has received the results of the housing needs assessment. And if you think of, in my mind, I look at it like this: if you think of a circle and you put staffing or employability, workforce, and then you put in that circle, and then you put transportation, and then available housing. Those three things, it's like a circular discussion. You've got to have transportation to be able to get to work, to be able to afford housing, and you got to have housing in order to be able to work here, in order to need the transportation. So which one do you start, and which one do you focus on first? I know that the city of Ludington and I believe the Mason County are looking at ways to address affordable housing, and that's really important. But when you get people that live here, can they get from point A to point B? If they're coming here as sort of a retirement situation, at what point will they need alternative transportation if they've moved here away from family and that kind of thing? So transportation is a big part in that, and then as a business, how can you ensure when you open a business or expand a business, how can you make sure that your employees have the ability to get to and from work? So those three things seem to be, at least in my mind, linked together, and I just think it's important that we address them when we can.
And I think it needs to come back up to the surface. The other thing that I observed, and again, this is Chris's observations, is that we are moving into a major era of plastic, right? Where credit cards, debit cards, so on and so forth, and moving away from cash. And we had, it was just last week, we had an individual here in the area that stopped into the radio station, into the lobby, had a $5 bill, needed to break that $5 bill into singles so that he could take the bus to where he was going. And again, these are questions for LMTA, of course. But you have a lot of influence on that, I would assume, or at least input. The bus here doesn't take anything other than cash. Is that correct?
In tokens, so they have the old school tokens as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I think those are things that Paul Keeson, who's the improvements and efficiency means, that hopefully, and I would guess he's looking at moving forward.
Okay, all right. So maybe we can get him on the air. I think that would be, because if he's listening right now or he's going to watch this later or whatever, I'm sure he has some input that would be beneficial for these individuals. Because I think that is a true community builder, right? It's going to help those employers, the employees, the shopping, everything else that we talked about. If you're just joining us, we're talking with the city manager, Mitch Foster, and the mayor of Ludington, Mark Barnett, this morning. City council meeting tonight for the city of Ludington at 6 p.m. You've got the clerk's salary and the treasurer's salary. Got any raises? Because Janelle was complaining about a raise just about a half an hour ago.
No, I said I'm taking Hudson if I don't get it. Get a bonus.
I don't
You
know.
said just bring him back.
Yeah,
That's aggressive.
yeah, absolutely.
Blackmail over there. I like it.
Right?
But no major shakeups. I mean, we had talked about last week that it's sometimes it's difficult to retain employees.
Yeah.
And so there's had to be a little bit of a budget, increase in the budget for that. But,
Yeah, we're looking at between 2 and 5% for most employees for the upcoming year. The only reason you see the clerk and treasurer as ordinances on there, and you don't see my salary on there, is because it's required under the charter that theirs be set by ordinance, which is a weird kind of thing, but they're both elected officials. The mayor and the city council salary is also set by ordinance. They just never change theirs. So, yeah.
Right. Other things, we'll go around. Oh, I have the mayor's on the camera. Mayor, you weren't talking, but Mitch was. Apologize to those viewers out there.
I like it.
Absolutely. But I got to press the buttons here and make sure everything's good. But let's talk about anything else. I'd like to ask this question of the two of you. Is there something on the agenda, which looks like a very light agenda for the nighttime tonight, but anything, Mitch, that you want to bring up that we want to address today?
Not for me on the agenda. I think, again, as you noted, it's pretty light agenda. I think over the next couple of months, you will see the agendas get a little bit heavier, just based on some items that are kind of percolating through the committee level. However, one thing I will note, the Planning Commission is still working on their Unified Development Ordinance, which is this giant monster of a project that's going to take in total probably about a year and a half. And that is to simplify our zoning code and make it easier for people to do things within the city of Ludington, and to make it easier for housing projects and for commercial development. So that'll be a little while, but one thing that I want to make sure everybody knows is there's going to be some public engagement pieces of that moving forward. So you'll start seeing some notices coming out from them that they want people to show up to meetings or to give input on that document.
Now, that's been, again, devil's advocate for just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about that for over a year, I think, at this point,
Yeah, just
right?
about a year. Yep.
Has it not moved as quickly as it should, or the plan? Why has it taken such a year for that, or is it just a massive amount of ordinances? Where are we at?
It's the entire it's the entire zoning code,
Okay.
Plus the building code, plus a little bit of the rental inspection. It's trying to look at everything to make sure that everything works well, is efficient, and doesn't leave something out. The sign ordinance alone, I think the mayor might remember this, but I think it took about 2 months, 2 or 3 months even, just because of how kind of complicated sign ordinances are. And so it is a long process, but we will have a draft document by the end of this year that they can then start picking apart and looking at it based on the conversations they've already had.
All right.
Yep.
And speaking of our signs, we're getting new signs or new vinyl for the outdoor. But once it got too cold, we just decided, hey, we'll wait till the springtime for that, because if you put it up in the cold, it peels and stuff like that. But we went through that process. It was $50, and it was approval there. I have a question for you. When it does go to when the permit comes in, or is there a committee for that? Who approves that kind of stuff?
Typically it's just the building inspector.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And just looks at that and
Yep.
Make sure it's in code there. It is now 8:52. Mayor, anything on the agenda that you want to bring up that we haven't chatted about this morning?
You already brought it up with the appointment of Rose Baker to the LMTA board. I do want to mention that we've got a few vacancies for the downtown Ludington board, the DDA board. If you have some connection to downtown, you own a business there, that type of thing, or if you're a resident in the downtown area and have an interest in that, I'd ask you to go to the City of Ludington website, click on government, and then boards and commissions. There's an application. Kind of explains. You can look at each of the boards and commissions if you have an interest in one of them. In this case, particularly with the downtown Ludington board, and want to apply, fill that application out, send it in to Jackie Steckel, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Sounds good.
It's almost as if we're in a building that's located within the downtown development area.
Right.
That maybe somebody from here would be interested.
No.
Yeah, Chris.
Nope. Too busy. That's all right. But no, maybe Janelle would like to be there.
I don't live in Ludington. I live in Fountain.
But you work in Ludington, so there may be an option.
Exactly.
Really? I thought you had to reside here. Okay.
Well, as long as the business that you're representing is down here, I believe that's what the qualifications are.
Yeah.
The other thing that they're really looking for, building off of the mayor's comment, is that we're looking for somebody and board members that want to put in the work.
Yes.
This is not a sit back and just dictate staff board. This is you're the staff. You're doing the work, and so it's not a ton of work, but there is some that goes with it. So they're looking for active people that want to see the downtown continue to improve.
Okay. All right. We're looking forward to that. Anything that is this the last time we're going to be talking before the new year? Is there another meeting?
18th, December 18th.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
So when we talk at that meeting, I would like to be able to just focus on the future in that particular one. And I know we talk about that kind of in the segments, in the topics that we talk about, but we always like to do that preview of what to expect in the new year, 2024, and anything that wasn't done. That might have, for instance, we still have that lot that is at the corner of South James and what's
Filer?
Filer? Is it Filer? Yeah, that is vacant. There's nothing happening there. It's not sold. Okay, so it's still up for sale. So, it's not necessarily a blemish on the city, because it's not. It's like green space is always a plus.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And so I would like to go over the list, if you don't mind. That'll give you a couple weeks or a week to say, hey, what sort of what expectations haven't been met in the area that maybe we can hint on again, and maybe just talking about that will inspire others. Are the developments that are out there, are they still on track? We talk about the schools sold. Are those developments still going on? And then anything that we can look forward to, because I can tell you within this window of time in the month of December into January, I'm sure there are people that are going to be listening to this, especially out-of-towners, visitors to this area, that are going to be looking forward to coming to the city of Ludington and to the area here. And we want to be able to put our best foot forward and give them some excitement about that. So let's chat about that the next time that you guys are in, if that's all right.
Sounds great.
Okay, cool. All right, 6 o'clock tonight, City Council meeting. And the best thing that you can do if you're listening to this program right now or watching it is be engaged. Join the DDA. Is it DDA position? You
Yes.
said? Yeah.
Yep.
Join that. Be able to go to the City Council meetings, voice your opinion, be engaged with it. And be a part of it. I grew up in a very small town up in northern Michigan, population 600 people. Okay, you'd go into a city council meeting and there was one person, two people in there. And so why would there be a city council meeting if you had that? Just email everybody and phone call. But there's a city government for a reason, and we want people to be engaged in it, and it's very important.
And along that, if I could just jump in, one of the things that we experience a spike in attendance when there's one particular issue that comes up, and people want to come in and let people know how they feel about this one particular issue. But you know what? There's business that happens twice a month for 12 months out of the year, and it's really encouraging and really helpful to council if people are coming and not only what they disagree with, but get up and talk about, hey, you guys are on the right track. You made this decision. We really appreciate that. So that support, that encouragement, that I don't want to. It really helps council to be able to do the business.
And it's not necessarily to inflate their heads, right? It's not. I mean, that's not the goal of it. But to sit on city council takes time, takes energy, takes effort, takes the good points and the bad points. I mean, obviously, that's why I wouldn't do. Don't take that wrongly, city council members or anything like that. Is that you have people that are disagreeing with you on a regular basis, right? And agreeing with you as well. But it takes a lot to be in those seats. So, but it's also important for the city council to know from its residents what their feedback is and input and concerns and as well triumphs too. So it's appreciated. All right. Thank you too for coming in as always.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. 8:58 now here on 102.7